One building was deliberately left standing while an entire city rose again around it. That decision turned a ruin into Hiroshima's most powerful landmark. Today, streetcars glide past gardens, office towers, and crowded bridges. Yet at the center of this living city, one broken dome remains unfinished. The mystery is not only how the structure survived, it is why Hiroshima chose to build its future without removing the evidence of its darkest morning. This is the story of a city destroyed in seconds, rebuilt over decades, and redesigned so that memory would remain visible in everyday life. To understand that transformation, we must return to Hiroshima before the bomb, when the city looked nothing like a field of ruins. Hiroshima grew on a delta shaped by several rivers flowing toward the Seto Inland Sea. Water divided the city, but bridges tied it together. It was a commercial center of shops, schools, factories, theaters, and homes. Its streets carried the ordinary rhythm of a modern Japanese city. It was also a major military and logistics center, connected by railways, ports, barracks, and command facilities serving Japan's expanding war effort. Streetcars crossed the center. Markets opened before dawn. Office workers, soldiers, students, and families moved through neighborhoods that seemed permanent. Near the T-shaped Aioi Bridge stood the Hiroshima Prefectural Industrial Promotion Hall, completed in 1915 and crowned by a distinctive copper dome. Designed by Czech architect Jan Letzel, the building promoted regional industry through exhibitions, offices, displays, and public events. Its dome made it easy to recognize from the air. Nearby, the unusual shape of Aioi Bridge formed an even clearer landmark. By the summer of 1945, Japan's war was collapsing. Hiroshima had escaped the large conventional air raids that devastated many other cities. That relative survival created a dangerous illusion. The city remained crowded with residents, military personnel, mobilized workers, and evacuees. Work crews were demolishing buildings to create fire breaks, hoping to stop the spread of flames if incendiary bombs arrived. On Monday morning, August 6th, the weather was clear. Air raid warnings had eased, and the city resumed its routine. High above the clouds, the American B-29 Enola Gay approached Hiroshima carrying a uranium bomb known as Little Boy. The aiming point was Aioi Bridge, chosen because its T-shape could be identified from the air with unusual precision. The bomb was released, but wind and motion carried it away from the bridge toward the area above Shima Hospital. At 8:15 a.m., it exploded about 600 meters above the ground, releasing heat, blast, and radiation almost simultaneously. For people near the center, the first sensation was light, brighter than anything they had seen, arriving before sound or understanding. A fireball expanded in less than a second. Near the hypocenter, surface temperatures rose high enough to ignite and deform ordinary materials. Then the shockwave struck. Walls folded, roofs lifted, streetcars were thrown from tracks, and windows shattered across a vast area. The city's dense wooden neighborhoods became fuel. Fires started at thousands of points and began merging into larger walls of flame. Broken water lines and blocked streets made organized firefighting almost impossible. Heat and wind carried the disaster from block to block. Within hours, the familiar city grid was almost erased. Roughly 90% of Hiroshima's buildings were damaged, many beyond repair. About 350,000 people were believed to be in Hiroshima that morning, including residents, soldiers, workers, and people from overseas. No single record can capture the full loss. Documents burned, families disappeared, and many victims died later from injuries and radiation. Hiroshima's official estimate is that about 140,000 people had died by the end of 1945. Hospitals, clinics, and emergency systems were themselves destroyed. The surviving medical staff faced more patients than they could possibly treat. Many survivors moved toward the rivers, searching for water and open space as fires consumed the neighborhoods behind them. Telephone lines were gone. Command centers were shattered. For hours, Even authorities outside Hiroshima struggled to understand what had happened. From surrounding hills, witnesses saw a city hidden beneath a towering column of smoke, its rivers reflecting an unnatural darkness. Only about 160 meters from the hypocenter, the industrial promotion hall stood inside the zone of almost total destruction. Because the blast came from almost directly above, parts of its reinforced structure and central walls resisted forces that destroyed buildings hit from the side. The copper covering vanished. Floors collapsed. The interior burned. What remained was a skeletal steel dome above fractured brick and stone. The people inside did not survive. The building's survival was structural, not miraculous, and it carried the silence of those who were lost. In photographs taken after the bombing, the dome appears almost alone, rising above a landscape flattened to the horizon. Other strong concrete buildings also endured in damaged form, but the dome's shape made it the most immediate visual witness to the destroyed center. At first, it was not a memorial. It was an unstable ruin inside a city desperate for shelter, food, transport, and basic government. The work of recovery began before anyone could fully measure the catastrophe. Rubble had to be cleared simply to move through the streets. 3 days after the bombing, a limited streetcar service resumed on one surviving section of track, a fragile sign that the city still functioned. Rail connections were restored section by section. Transport carried food, medicine, workers, and news into a city cut apart by destruction. Around the station, improvised markets appeared. Scarce goods changed hands at high prices as residents tried to rebuild ordinary routines. Survivors salvaged timber, metal, and roof tiles to build shacks among the ruins. For many, reconstruction began with one room and a leaking roof. Schools reopened in damaged buildings and open-air spaces. Empty lots became classrooms before the city had enough walls to enclose them. The survivors, later known as hibakusha, faced radiation illness, recurring disease, lost income, and medical costs that continued for decades. Many also faced discrimination in employment and marriage, as fear and misunderstanding followed them far beyond the ruined city. Hiroshima's municipal government had little money, enormous damage, and a shrinking tax base. Rebuilding on the required scale seemed financially impossible. Some observers doubted whether Hiroshima could recover at all. Yet residents continued opening shops, repairing tracks, and returning to damaged neighborhoods. In 1946, city leaders declared that reconstruction should create more than a replacement city. Hiroshima would become a peace memorial city for the world. That idea changed the question. Rebuilding was no longer only about roads and houses, but about what the new city would represent. The first Peace Festival was held in 1947. At 8:15, a bell sounded across a city still filled with temporary buildings. That annual moment of silence transformed a precise time of destruction into a recurring act of public memory. But ideals could not solve the practical crisis. Hiroshima needed land, national funding, and legal authority to rebuild its center. On August 6, 1949, the Hiroshima Peace Memorial City Construction Law came into force exactly 4 years after the bombing. The law made reconstruction a national project and defined Hiroshima as a city intended to symbolize the pursuit of lasting peace. It also helped secure subsidies and the transfer of state-owned land, giving planners room to reshape the devastated center. That same year, a design competition sought a plan for a peace memorial park in the former Nakajima district near the hypocenter. The winning proposal came from a young Japanese architect, Kenzo Tange, whose plan used architecture to organize memory along a powerful visual axis. From the museum, the eye would pass through the cenotaph and continue toward the ruined dome across the river. The museum itself would rise on concrete columns, leaving the ground open and creating the sense that the building floated above the park. The cenotaph formed a sheltering arch over the register of victims, framing the dome beyond as part of one continuous composition. Tange did not hide the ruin behind a new monument. He made the ruin the destination of the entire plan. This transformed the dome from accidental survivor into the visual anchor of a reconstructed city devoted to remembrance. South of the park, a road 100 meters wide became Peace Boulevard, combining traffic lanes with broad green spaces and memorial plantings. Trees donated from across Japan softened the vast avenue. What had begun partly as a firebreak became a green spine through the city. Reconstruction was not painless. Land readjustment altered old neighborhoods, moved boundaries, and forced difficult compromises between public plans and private lives. By the early 1950s, concrete buildings, shops, schools, and housing blocks were rising where temporary structures had stood. The Peace Memorial Museum opened in 1955, giving artifacts, photographs, and survivor testimony a permanent place in the center of the city. By 1958, Hiroshima's population had returned to its highest pre-war level, a milestone celebrated during a major reconstruction exhibition. That year, the Tower of Hiroshima Castle was reconstructed, restoring another landmark lost in the bombing while acknowledging a much older history. Industry returned. Streetcar routes expanded. Bridges and offices reconnected the delta, turning emergency survival into sustained urban growth. At the same time, Hiroshima's identity as a peace city attracted visitors, activists, religious leaders, students, and political delegations from around the world. The dome, however, was deteriorating. Rain, wind, and unstable masonry raised a difficult question: preserve the ruin or remove it? Some residents wanted the structure demolished because it was dangerous or too painful. Others believed removing it would erase an irreplaceable witness. Survivors, citizens, and campaigners pressed for permanent preservation, arguing that future generations needed to see what words alone could not convey. In 1966, the Hiroshima City Council voted unanimously to preserve the atomic bomb dome for all time. The first major preservation work followed in 1967. Steel supports and synthetic resin stabilized the ruin without rebuilding it into something new. Later conservation projects followed the same principle: reinforce only what was necessary, while keeping the building's post-bomb appearance intact. In 1996, UNESCO placed the dome on the World Heritage List, recognizing it as a universal symbol of destruction and hope for peace. The modern city around it continued to grow. Offices, hotels, stadiums, transit lines, and residential towers filled a skyline once reduced to smoke. Peace Memorial Park now occupies the former Nakajima district, where homes, shops, temples, cinemas, and businesses once crowded the river junction. The flame of peace has burned since 1964, intended to remain lit until nuclear weapons no longer exist. The Children's Peace Monument, surrounded by folded paper cranes, carries the memory of young victims and the story of Sadako Sasaki. Inside the cenotaph are registers containing the names of people whose deaths are connected to the bombing, with new names added over time. Inside the museum, damaged belongings and survivor testimony restore individual lives to a catastrophe that can otherwise become only numbers. Hibakusha spent decades describing what happened, often while carrying illness, grief, and the burden of being asked to relive the day. Their testimony changed Hiroshima from a place people observed into a place that asked visitors to make a moral choice about the future. The city's message is not that destruction can be undone. The dead did not return, and many survivors never escaped the consequences. Hiroshima's achievement was different. It rebuilt ordinary life while refusing to make the extraordinary violence invisible. Every bridge, park, apartment, and office around the ruin creates a before and after image no archive could produce on its own. At 8:15 every August 6th, the city falls silent. The same streets that once burned become places of bells, flowers, and reflection. The dome remains broken, but Hiroshima is not frozen in 1945. It is a living city that chose to carry its scar in public. That is why the ruin still matters. It proves that rebuilding can create a future without demanding that the past disappear. Hiroshima arose again, not by replacing memory with progress, but by placing memory at the center of progress. One building was left unfinished so that the world would never mistake survival for forgetting.